On today's episode of Talkin' Town Ball, well, let's just say this is going to be one of our more random shows we've ever had. So tune out now if you don't want to listen to nonsense. We have some interviews from the Crow River Valley League North Star League All-Star game with Kip Kovar and JP Doherty. We also head to Lake Country to check in on the Shindig from Detroit Lakes with Brandon Johnson. The Minnesota Baseball Hall of Fame announced its 2025 inductees, and we're going to check in on anybody who's standing out in Class A, B, or C. So kick your feet up, find yourself a nice elote, or as we would call it, Mexican street corn on the cob. Pair that with a 12-ounce can of Surge. Yes, that's right, Surge. It's a kick in the mouth as we talk town ball.
Under those stars where the heart beats strong, Minnesota diamonds where we all belong. Cheering voices carrying through the night, the soul of the state under stadium lights.
Welcome back to the Talkin' Town Ball podcast. We're going to let you know our names because we've been making it a point. This is Jordan. Across from me here is John, and Ryan is in an undisclosed location via phone. It is Wednesday, July 9th, and we're back. We've got stuff to talk about.
We are back. It feels good. Ryan calling in, had a busy weekend. You guys just wrapped up a Legion tournament, isn't that right?
Yeah, we have our city festival is the 4th of July. So we did it this year, July 3rd, 4th, 5th, and 6th. And we host a pretty premier Legion tournament in Delano. I mean, it's only 8 teams. We do pool play. So, you know, if you win the tournament, you're playing 5 games in 4 days.
Oh, wow.
This year we had Wayzata beat Champlin for the championship. We also had Buffalo, Edina, Osseo, Minneapolis Southwest. Obviously, Delano is in it, and Hopkins. So
Sure.
We get some pretty big names, and then most of them, come back every year. Edina, Wayzata, they've probably been in it since the beginning, and I probably could say the same with Hopkins and maybe even Minneapolis Southwest. So,
So who ended up taking the tournament?
Wayzata did, and it was kind of funny because there's a little bit of a Delano athletics ties to that one. So Blake Ask, who pitches for us, he was the pitching coach for I think a couple of years, and he wasn't going to be back this year. But then he showed up in the dugout during the championship game, so of course we had to give him a pretty hard time. And last year, actually, Delano beat Wayzata for the championship, and we had a couple guys from both teams playing for the Delano A's this year. And so during the championship, it was funny. Actually, Steve Island scheduled them all, the guys from Delano and Wayzata that are on the A's now, to work the championship game in the second stand. So had a little bit of fun with that.
Nice.
Yeah.
But
There's always a lot of people, good baseball, and a little cool story out there. We'll give a plug to Pennant Bats out of Big Lake. They were our bat sponsor, made us some pretty cool bats, and he ended up selling about, I think, over 20 bats during the 4 days he was there. A kid from Edina bought one, hit a couple of home runs, and gave him a shout out as he was rounding the bases. So kind of a cool story. Yeah,
absolutely. That is really cool. That you got a lot of high school ball. Almost your break from town ball was more baseball. So whereas my 4th of July was spent more on a lake than at a baseball park. I'll say this: Pennant, they were at the North Star League CRVL All-Star game in Dassel as well. So it was good to see him there. He's making the rounds, and I know, Jordan, you bought a bat too. So
Yeah, I had to. You don't, some people say, what's the saying? It's like, well, it's not the marksman, it's the weapon or whatever. I don't know what
something like that. I understand where you're going.
What I'm getting at, you don't have to be a good hitter to appreciate a cool bat.
Of course,
So
yeah.
I butchered whatever that was.
But I think that the message was kind of relayed. So I understand.
Long story short, got a cool bat.
Got a cool bat. Yeah, that's cool.
yeah.
That was fun to see. But yeah, like I said, local bat company and making the rounds, and yeah, we've been busy. We ended June. I know a lot of tournaments have been kind of wrapping up. I know we're eventually going to talk about Ryan and Delano going up to the Shindig, but before that, and in the end of June, there was, we mentioned it already, an All-Star game.
Mm-hmm.
And for all of our listeners, I mean, obviously this probably feels a little bit more specific to the North Star League and the CRVL, but kind of a cool opportunity, cool event for two leagues to kind of show off some of their players. And we got to play in Dassel, which is always fun. A great park there. Jordan will stay humble, but I will call that out. It was a great night on an awesome field. And I think what we're going to do before we really dive into the meat and potatoes of this thing, we had a couple pre-game interviews, pre-All-Star game interviews. A former guest, JP Doherty, was there calling the game. We had a little interview. Jordan had a little interview with him pre-game. And then Kip Kovar was there as well covering the game. And Jordan and I, we in tandem, we kind of, I don't know if we cornered him, but we
did. We cornered him. It was right before infield, outfield. And we pinned him to the backstop and said, listen, buddy, you got to get on here for a second.
Exactly. And he gave us a little bit of a guess as to how the game went. You'll hear that here soon. And we will follow up after the interviews to kind of confirm or deny whether what he guessed was true. If you've been following Twitter, you probably have an idea of where this game went, but we'll get to that here in a moment. But I think we're going to jump right into those little interviews. They're super quick. They're not going to take too long. We'll go back to back. So without further ado, JP Doherty and Kip Kovar.
This is Jordan Flick reporting live from Saints Field in beautiful Dazzle, Minnesota for the North Star League versus Crow River Valley League All-Star game. I'm here with our friend JP Doherty. JP, how are you?
I'm great. Looking forward to a great game today. Should be a great time.
Awesome. Well, what's new in your world? You're here potentially live streaming this.
Yeah. So gonna try and set up a live stream for this thing. Hopefully it works out. I got about 2 hours here to figure out if I can get this rolling. But just finished up the high school season with NSPN. I was super busy there. I was doing things 5 days a week. But now that that's done, I get to relax a little bit and take in some town ball here.
Right on. Well, yeah, it should be a good one tonight. We've got a good game in store. I think that it'll probably be a little more laid back than maybe some of the other town ball games that you'll visit with some rivalries. Although this is, it's two leagues that are trying to win the game, but I think it's a little bit more laid back, a little bit more fun, kind of a break from the action.
Yeah, absolutely. I mean, I've been to both the last two All-Star games, and it's both teams are certainly trying to win. It's not like an NBA All-Star game, for example, where it's where defense is non-existent, and both these teams are going to be trying to win. But I think having fun is going to be the order of the day, and showing off this beautiful town of Dassel, Minnesota, for the people.
Yeah. Well, we're happy to have you out. You said this might be on your Twitch channel.
Yeah.
What's your Twitch? Drop that so we can...
Twitch.tv/JPD96. We're going to hopefully get this rolling here. Going to plan on trying to do some stuff for the regions too, but I'll be out with NSPN.TV for the state tournament, so that won't be happening, obviously, because they have exclusive streaming rights, but I'm going to try and do something for the regions. This is just sort of a test thing for tonight to see if we can get it rolling.
Well, awesome. Well, it was good to talk to you. I'm sure I'll talk to you as the night goes on, and we'll probably have to celebrate with a drink after.
Of course, always down to come celebrate in the clubhouse.
Right on. Well, thanks again, JP.
Hey, appreciate it, man.
We're back here at the All-Star game, the North Star League versus the CRVL, and Jordan and I have a special guest here. We've a guy that we've name dropped probably in every episode.
Gotta do it.
Kip Kovar is here today. Kip, how are you doing?
I'm good. I had to give you guys a little bit of crap Wednesday, though. I always listen on my drive into the office. I got 40-minute drive in and 40 minutes back, so like an hour and a half episodes are perfect. But
Yeah, we covered that in our latest episode. We dropped a Sunday episode recently, and we had to apologize to our normal listening crowd. We feel bad. We're going to get back on schedule here upcoming, but
We're gonna try to.
But we've got our special edition All-Star Game edition here tonight. Kip, what are you excited about most for a game like this?
I really like this night because covering the Crow and the North Star League, I get to finally get all the guys in one spot instead of having to choose whether I'm going to Loretto or if I'm going to Young America. So it's really nice to get everyone in the same park, and it's kind of cool, especially knowing the last two state champions in Class C are from these two leagues. So you get all these guys on one field, and it's fun to see, and always a fun night. You get a good crowd coming in. It'll be fun to see.
Absolutely. Like you said, some good baseball talent going to be on the field tonight. Who are some guys that maybe you're excited to see tonight, whether they're on the mound or on the plate?
I guess for the Crow side, it's going to be Josh Anthony, who's just at 40-plus years old knocking the cover off the ball. He's got 8 home runs in league play already.
Oh, my gosh.
Yeah. So
is that New Germany?
It is. He was with Mayer the last few years, and when they folded, he signed over with New Germany. And maybe some guys thought maybe that was the end of it for him, but he's finding a home in New Germany just fine. So It's always fun to watch him play. And, just getting some of the old guys, the young guys, and you got some of the Crow guys that played in the North Star earlier and other way around. So it's fun to see them all get back together.
Absolutely.
So pitch around Josh Anthony tonight is what you're saying. Nah, you know
This
what?
is good information.
You get behind, don't hang one.
All-Star game, and we're intentionally walking.
We got to give the people a show. Maybe it's just a first pitch. Here you go. See how far you can hit it.
Let's see what you can do with it. We've got some good young players on the North Star League side. I met a Brock Mutterer out of Buffalo.
Yeah.
And hadn't even met him or seen him to this point. And you see, they're a little wide-eyed tonight. You get some of these young guys out here. They're definitely excited to get out here and mix it up with the older crowd.
Yeah, definitely. I was putting together the rosters, and there's a lot more changes on the North Star than the Crow River side. So it's fun to see new kids and you guys get a chance. And you got the Hamill crew coming in, too. So it's always fun to see that. Arlington on the Crow side. So some new blood.
Yeah, and we've got the normally Ryan Hayes, who's been kind of coordinating on the North Star League side, are the third leg to our podcast trio. Not here tonight, of course, bailing because he's afraid to face the North Star League.
Yeah, he says he's him, but tonight
he is nowhere near him.
Is crowned.
There will be a new him. There will be a new him, the Toolman Taylor.
Yes, new him, Tommy.
But we will crown a reigning champion tonight, or the CRVL will look to end the skid.
Yeah.
So we're excited. Kip, do you have any predictions?
I don't know, but I was really hoping Delano would put some position player in the lineup so you guys could
A
plonk
bunch
them,
of schlubs.
but,
You know, it's
I
funny.
guess they'll have to go to
Like
Ozzy
I
on the
said,
mound.
Hayes saw the All-Star game on the schedule and said, we need to get out of state or go somewhere far away.
They're at the Shindig
They're
right
at the
now.
Shindig in Detroit Lakes, having a great time, probably eating some Zorbas, drinking a lot of beer, and having a good time. So we will miss them tonight. They do have Austin Schneider, who's been pitching really well this year, they will get him out there for sure. But like I said, any predictions, any numbers you want to throw at us? 2-0 series lead for the North Star League.
10 innings the first year, I believe.
We don't want that.
We don't need that. We don't need that.
You guys kind of ran away with it last year. I'll go Homer. I'll go Crow. 6-3.
Okay.
Wow.
Pitchers duel.
We respect that. We hope that you're wrong, of course. But, it should be a great night.
Kip, it was great to have you for this short one. We're going to have you on for a longer, more formal one in the future. Thanks for hanging out with us.
Thanks for being here tonight.
Sounds good. Thanks for doing what you guys do, too.
Awesome. Thank you.
And that was our interviews with JP Doherty and Kip Kovar. You guys, I want to say this. JP kind of introducing a new sort of avenue for
Yeah.
for baseball coverage, a little bit unique to utilize Twitch, which obviously if you're on the younger side of 40, you may know that is like a video game streaming site,
Yeah.
but they do expand to a lot of other things.
We have so NSPN's awesome. Obviously,
Yes.
they do the state tournaments,
High
and
quality
that kind of deal.
production.
And JP's worked with them as well. But they don't make it out to every single town ball game. So if people are interested in getting your team or your teams out there, Twitch is cool because
Yeah.
it's free. You literally can just use a webcam or whatever kind of camera you have and record a game. So.
Yeah, very cool stuff. So it was fun talking to JP before the game there. And of course, then like we said, we talked to Kip, and Kip had a few things to say as far as how he thought maybe the game would go and what he wanted to see. But we'll say this, Kip was, he maybe underestimated his CRVL All-Stars.
He was partially right.
Partially right. We'll say this as we go in and talk about the final score, which ended up being 15-1. It was 6-1 in the bottom of the eighth, and
Yep.
Colton Haight put a ball out that got absolutely snagged. We were looking at a 6-3 ball game for a
Yep.
moment, then it just vanished with an awesome catch, and the ninth got a little bit out of the got a little loose.
I completely blacked out. Don't remember any of it. And I prefer it that way.
Yeah, credit Kip for calling the winner, but the final score being what it was, not quite close to the 6, I believe it's 6-3. We might have to listen back on that 6-3 final that he guessed. Now, Ryan, you've been kind of quiet over there because now we are to the point where we can discuss the All-Star game a little bit here, the result of the All-Star game. Now, being someone that wasn't on site, you were listening to the game on a pontoon. Is that right?
Yeah, we were up and went down to Ottertail. One of our players family has a cabin on Ottertail there in Ottertail, and we just took the pontoon out, hooked the Bluetooth up for about a half hour. Unfortunately, we had to follow the scoring on Twitter because whoever we were listening to on the radio couldn't quite tell us what the score is for.
Feels like we've talked about this.
Yeah, it just makes my head hurt. But we were kind of cheering along against our old league, and sounds like things got a little dicey late. I don't know how I should how I should take it, or how it should go in the record books. I mean, I have a feeling there should be an asterisk by it because I wasn't in the dugout. So if you beat the North Star League and I'm not picking the team and putting the team out there, did it really count? But
Right.
And Del knows we had a representative and he pitched an inning, so we're gonna get a little bit of credit for that. I think last year the two guys we sent, one of them had one at bat and that was it, and the other one we didn't have anybody pitch, so we contributed more a little bit to the Crow River Valley League team this year. So I mean, we're just if you want to win an All-Star game, just get us in your league first.
Oh my God.
Delano, open for league invites.
Oh no, we're not.
Oh, okay.
No, not anymore.
We're very content.
Very
We
content.
got a big week coming up here with some games I'm looking forward to in the Crow. So,
Of course.
But, I mean, I just hopefully everything went well besides the final score. So what was it, the 8th or was it the top of the 9th? As I didn't really.
It all happened in the 9th. All the
hijinks. Yeah.
hijinks.
What base?
Who was pitching? What was the? I'm not going to ask. Okay, I'm going to say this. What team was out there being represented on the mound?
That was the home team out there on the mound. I mean, he won't mind. So Mike Leffler's been a really good bullpen arm for us all year, and he went out there and was doing fine, and then walked a guy. Guy found a hole. Guy hits one over an outfielder's head. Guy doinks one over the pitcher's mound, and then the wheels just fell off, and we could not
Well,
get out of it.
you don't have anybody ready to go like a regular season game either. I mean, and we ran into that in Delano too. Like I remember Adam Daman from Plato kind of came over to me and shrugged his shoulders. He goes, "Ryan, what do we do after 9 if we're tied?" And I'm like, he goes, "Should we go with the Manfred runner?" And I'm like, "Yes."
Oh, yeah.
Fred." And I'm like, "Jordan, I know you're coaching, but you're gonna have to pitch." And
Yeah.
you're really only planning for 9 innings, and you don't really, and you don't want to be the manager coach or to take a guy out of an all-star game, even though it is just town teams. So
Right. So we did have to go get the home team pitcher in the 9th, and ended up going to Ramon Vega Jr., who he will tell you he is a pitcher. I don't know that he is a pitcher.
There's something in the water in Buffalo where all them guys just they're pitchers. We dealt with the same thing with Cal James last year. He's the whole game. Let me pitch, Ryan. Let me pitch, Ryan. Let me pitch. And then we send him out there to pitch, and then like Noah Christensen and Justin Johnson are like, Hayes, he throws like 72. Cal would make it seem like he just flirt with 90, and yeah, he was throwing 72.
But
those Buffalo guys,
he went out there and got outs.
He got out.
Cal
And then
James got out.
Same with Ramon. Goes in, he has to get 1 out, throws 2 pitches, gets a pop up, and it's game over.
I'll say this about Ramon too. I mean, if you want to call him a thrower, he's a hell of a thrower because
Definitely a thrower.
He was throwing some darts out there, and if he's a one pitch guy, he was throwing good fastballs, and that's what we needed at that point. We needed an out. It was a little bit. It was kind of it was a little bit, I guess, frustrating to end such a good game on just a little bit of a sour note there, but everyone battled and everyone was represented, and it's one of those things like we're not going to change how we approach the game. It's like we're not going to give a guy 4 at bats and one guy 1 at bat because we want a better chance of and this is probably loser talk here, but it's like it might sound like it, but we want to make sure everybody that is at the game to represent their team gets a fair shot. And it just, I'll say that CRVL with the pitchers that they had available for the game, they pitched very well. I mean, I think that there was really only maybe 2 or 3 innings where we, especially early on, we definitely were threatening, and they just had some good arms. They just, I think that they brought in like Ryan Graham's in the 8th or 9th, and it's like, oh, if this is your one of your end of the road guys, it's like that's a hell of an arm to put out there.
I want to call out the defense played in the game was pretty great too. I think it was the second baseman for Carver.
Okay.
Carver or Brown, they kind of have similar jerseys. And I can't remember.
It's tough to like pull those names out.
Well, middle infielder for, I want to say Carver, and I'm sorry I don't know the name here, but slow roller, like up the middle, kind of by second base, and he comes in and makes just an unreal play to get a fast guy out.
Yeah.
And then we've got over the shoulder diving catches in the outfield all game. It was a blowout by the end.
Yeah.
But a lot of good plays up to that point.
You can tell. I mean, the guys are there for a reason. I mean, they're very talented, and it's just fun to get to know them a little bit more. And I wish there was maybe a little bit more mingling between the two leagues, but everyone's kind of sticking to their side, and you get to meet and see a lot of people that wear a lot of different jerseys, so that's always fun. And to represent as managers, that was very cool as well, to kind of be able to balance the game and the lineup and get guys opportunities. Yeah, fun night. And to be honest, about an hour after the game, the rain just poured, and we made it just in time to wrap that thing up, and it was a beautiful night overall. So
there's definitely other All-Star games, different leagues out there, and we were pretty consumed with ours, so that's what we're talking about.
Yeah,
but if you have like cool info on your All-Star game, or have an idea for what you think might be a cool way to do an All-Star game between leagues, or I just saw some tweets like, why don't you do a B versus C or an A versus B or whatever All-Star game? let us know. Like, shoot us a message. We'll entertain the ideas.
Yeah, and I've seen on Twitter too. I think we got called out by a burner that said the podcast, basically it's the North Star League podcast. To be honest, we were very consumed. Like you said, we were super consumed by it as we led up to it. But now that we're kind of through the clouds and through the smoke of the All-Star game, I think we can focus now more widespread.
Yeah.
On these other statewide issues, and we can talk more about the rankings and this and that, and we're going to be more focused on that. And we talk about it, Ryan. If you want to jump in here, you want to go somewhere, we could go up north and talk a little bit about Northern baseball.
Well, it's funny that like this perfect transition, and we talked about that in our pre-production meeting. But it was great. When we were up in Detroit Lakes after that Friday night, there was 2 games, and then also Cannon Falls, who had the first game Saturday. So Hibbing, Delano, Detroit Lakes, Albertville, Cannon Falls were all represented at Zorba's and talking to Brandon from Detroit Lakes, and then just kind of pulled some of the Hibbing guys over, and we had just played them, and he's like, hey, this is the guy, he's got that podcast. And I goes, oh yeah, I just started listening to it. And he goes, you got to listen to it because they actually talk about baseball up north. They actually talk about they actually are trying to represent all the different corners of the state, and they do a pretty good job of it. So I'll take that as a win. And yeah. But yeah, we're going to talk about what we know, and we kind of run out of things to talk about, which is the North Star League, and then me being over in the Crow River Valley League now. And I'm only halfway into one season. I have 20 plus years in the North Star League, and more if you include when just growing up watching it as a kid. So,
right.
But yeah.
Very cool to hear that from the Detroit Lakes folks. Obviously, we've had Brandon on here as a guest, and we've talked a lot about the tournaments, and then of course the upgrades at the ballpark up there. We're not just a Detroit Lakes up north podcast either. We'll talk about any other team that has anything going on up there. If you feel like you need a shout out for something you're doing at a field, or if you're hosting a tournament somewhere up there, you just gotta hit us up in the DMs. We want to talk about it. So yeah, you talk about the Shindig, and Ryan, I think you had a little bit of a interview with Brandon. Is that right?
Yeah, we were we were scheduled to play Cannon Falls the second day, and I think it was the second game of the day, and they had kicked off with Hibbing, and a 7-inning game turned into a 14-inning game, and Keith Myers came in relief, and I think he threw 8. So Brandon and I were just sitting out on one of the Toros and just watching the game, and I said, hey, there's nobody around us, and let's hit record and talk about the Shindig. So yeah, I got that recorded, and I think you guys got it. You gonna play it? We gonna play that one? Or?
I think we go
great
right
lead
into
in,
it.
great lead in. I think what we'll do is this is like first of its kind, a second round of an interview here. So we'll transition once again to an interview. Here is Ryan Hayes solo interviewing the manager of the Detroit Lakes Ligers, Brandon Johnson.
All right, this is Ryan Hayes with a live report representing Talkin' Town Ball. I am up in Washington Park in Detroit Lakes right now. Day 2 of the world-famous Shindig tournament here. We're in extra innings between Cannon Falls and Hibbing 5-5. I'm here with the host, Brandon, who runs the Detroit Lake Ligers, taking a little bit of time off he was at Zorba's last night for a couple minutes, and then had field duty this morning. We got hammered with some rain overnight. So how do you think it's going? How are you satisfied?
Absolutely. This is our favorite weekend of the year. We always have a blast with it, and then with a little bit of rain, that's probably best for the field, getting it cleaned up, and teams are here ready to have some fun, and to have 5 teams come and join us that are about fun and having a good time, but good competitive baseball, and last night, your guys' game with Hibbing, that lived up to the heavyweight matchup it was billed to be. Got to see some big flies, got to see some good plays, and now this game to start off the day has been fantastic. And then selfishly for us to start the weekend with a win is pretty nice too. So it's an absolute dream, but this is kind of our Christmas weekend.
And you got a big arm coming in tonight, it sounds like, to throw your nightcap to hopefully pitch you guys into the championship tomorrow. What's the story there?
We've been blessed that our ace from the last few years, he took a job in South Dakota. He works for DNR, just graduated from college, so he took a job in South Dakota. But even when he took that job, he was pretty adamant. He goes, as long as there's a team, I'm going to do everything I can to be a part of it. And he hasn't been able to join us all year. He earlier this week kind of gave me a little insight that he might be in town, might be available, and at 6:10 this morning, as I was walking down to the field, we got a message on Team Reach that I had picked out his favorite uniform, so he was going to come pitch. So we'll get to see Blaine come and pitch at least one game this year, so we're excited about that.
Well, that's great news, and then that means if we can get a win against Cannon Falls, we can avoid him tomorrow.
Right.
Because we would end up getting you guys, if I'm right, because you guys took care of Albertville 10-run last night. So can you give a little rundown of what you got going on over here? A couple of tents over down the first base line. That's where your concession stand is. Who's all involved in making this tournament a go outside of just the Liger players themselves?
Absolutely. We're sponsored this weekend by True Sports Performance. It's a local business that we have here, ran by a gentleman named Tom Trudson. You can go ahead and Google him. He was a head athletic trainer in the Mets organization for a while at the AA, and I think he even worked in the AAA level. So he offers sports medicine and rehab and other services to local athletes, which is always great as these kids are coming up, trying to make them better athletes. And then we also have Bucks Mill Brewing out of DL here, set up serving beers down the first base line, which they do for all of our games. We're blessed to have that. And then having the concession stand ran actually by the softball program this weekend. Normally it's youth baseball, but we got softball on it this weekend, so we get to help raise a little money for the softball organization. So just a lot of community effort showing up because, as I think you can tell, we're a town that likes some baseball, so we'll support it.
Absolutely, and $3 Scotcheroos, and they are big Scotcheroos. So that's pretty great. Just to paint a little bit of a picture here, this is my first time here to Washington Park, first time to Detroit Lakes, and you have the big old school grandstand. I had a couple guys say, it's like almost like a minor league park. There's a minor league team play here years and years ago. I don't know the answer to that, but you're literally like a block from the lake. You can kind of see it if you get up in the grandstand. It's a great view, kind of right in the middle of the hub of town too. So there's always people driving by, stopping by. And you had made mention that there's going to be some renovations coming up. I want to talk about them for a couple minutes if you don't mind.
Yeah, basically, again, we're on the historic, we're of Minnesota baseball fields, we are the only one that's on the National Historical Registry, which is cool, but it gives us a little bit of hoops we have to jump through when it comes to renovations, because as you probably went up and sat in those grandstands, they're not the most comfortable. So starting with the grandstands, getting that updated while keeping still the same seating essentially. We'll remove the back off every other seat, put new wood down so people aren't getting splinters. The grandstands themselves, right now we have storage underneath. We're going to turn basically the back garage door into a ticket booth and entrance for fans, so they're going to come up and through. And then on the first base side, there's going to be a nice little flat platform and an actual ADA ramp. The biggest problem with being historical is we are not accessible, so this is going to make the ballpark more accessible to everybody, so more people can come take in a game. The concessions we're going to completely knock down, put a new one up, a little bit smaller actually, but it's going to be facing the grandstands now. And then both dugouts will have a changing room behind them. So when we have tournaments and stuff like this, guys can come in. They're not getting, changed in downtown DL like that, but they'll also have a little place to store some stuff, which is nice. And then bringing cement to make things a little more clean around the edges, moving the batting cages down here a little bit further down the third base line, putting double cages in, renovating the bullpens, and then after the grandstands themselves are nice, this extra area is nice. And we update these light towers, which we have to keep the original light towers. We're going to put new LED lighting on them. And then the last step after all of that kind of stuff is done is we're going to go ahead and turf the infield about 6 feet into the outfield and fall territory. So everything that's infield will be turfed. I'm trying to make a case with those that make decisions with me that we still leave dirt at the mound and dirt at the plate. But it's going to be a massive renovation, get the outfield fence fixed finally, change some of that stuff, but keep the historic feel. Again, it's a historic monument. We have to keep that, but updating with the times to make it more accessible, more safe, and more user-friendly.
No, I would say this. You have all the bones. Everything is here that you need. The light towers are very similar to the ones we have in Delano, so keeping that historic feel to it, I think, won't be a problem for you. What I really love is I'm a footprint guy, and you have a big enough footprint here where you can keep doing and keep dreaming and keep fundraising. So I'm really excited to see what's to continue, and I just thank you for having us up here. Our guys have had a blast so far. A little bit of a waiting mode right now because we're playing 7-inning games, but Hibbing and Cannon Falls are now headed to the top of the 12th. Keith Myers, the crafty old vet from Cannon Falls, is keeping the Bears in it. I think he's only given up one run since he's come in relief, and that was back, I believe, in the 7th inning. So we're up next against Cannon Falls. Maybe they'll be a little worn out, and maybe we'll get the Ligers tomorrow for a championship game. So thanks again, Brandon, for the time. Thanks for inviting us. You got anything else?
Just happy to have you guys up and happy to see some good, fun baseball, and we're excited to have the rest of the weekend go so well.
Well, and we're back, and that was me, Ryan Hayes, talking to Brandon out on a Toro as we were watching Hibbing finish up with Cannon Falls. They had a marathon game, kind of set us back a few hours. It got late to a barbecue down in Otter Tail, but it all worked out great. So that was I haven't been up north in a long time. Long time. I have I kind of forgot what that cabin, the lake life was like, but if you get a chance to play in the Shindig or go up there for a road trip game, maybe you can knock out like Perham and Detroit Lakes, or Bluffton's up there, New York Mills, all relatively close. And just a great time, and got a bunch of the guys that were the veterans on the team. We rented a house, Airbnb, and shut down Zorba's and a couple other places, and then solve world problems till about 4 a.m. And I'm going to tell you what, these politicians out there, not to get to this, is going to be a political podcast. We've got more done, more accomplished in our conversations from about 1 a.m. to 4 a.m. with some beer in us than it's just like, come on, people, this is what you got to do. This is when the things happen between 1 a.m. and 4 a.m. We'd get a lot more problems solved.
So when you were between 1 and 4 a.m. and you solved all these problems, did you happen to write any down, or are they lost to Zorba's now?
It's probably lost to Zorba's, lost at the lake house. It was great. And like I had mentioned before, you had all the teams represented at Zorba's, and there's another place called the Hub that we might have stopped at too there. But just amazing experience, just intertwining, the beach, the lake, baseball, and it was just a perfect weekend. We didn't win the tournament, but it didn't even really matter. Just everything was great. And so we're playing Friday night. The first game Friday was Albertville, Detroit Lakes, and then we had played Hibbing. And there's a group in the grandstand, and they're getting tuned up. One guy had a Nuke LaLoosh jersey on, so it's just fabulous. And these guys are like chirping us, but they're chirping Hibbing. But then they're cheering for us and they're cheering for Hibbing. My guys are like just beyond confused. So like I catch one of them, I look, I'm like, I just start laughing. I'm like, guys, that's Cannon Falls. That's just the Cannon Falls team. And they're just having a good time in there. So Toby Hansen comes up, he's wearing number 24. So they're like, come on, Cano, let's go. Robinson Cano's up, and they're like, it was funny. Then the next at bat, Toby ends up hitting a home run. 2 batters later, we have a tall, skinny left fielder who wears number 22 and bats left-handed, got kind of wavy hair. And they're like, oh, who's this guy? oh, that's Christian Yelich. And they start calling him Christian Yelich. His name's Gard Swenson, by the way. And he does kind of look like Christian Yelich. And then sure enough, he hits one out. And it was perfect. And then we ended up running to them guys later. So just, again, anybody out there, you get that opportunity to just go to a tournament, stay overnight, or just do a one-night road trip. That's that was pretty special. That was pretty special. I'll remember that one for a long time. So they put on a show up there.
Yeah, that's fun to talk about. It is. There is something to say about going somewhere for a weekend and not basically having the thought of half the team's gonna bail after the game to go blah blah blah, go home or find somebody they know. It's cool that they can kind of stick together. You're up and away far enough where the guys aren't running back home. The camaraderie is obviously there. You're building a little team chemistry, and just to meet new guys and new teams. Similar in the All-Star game format, you get to just meet new people, kind of get an understanding for their dugout a little bit, because some of these teams are quite a blast to be around. And it sounds like you found one in Cannon Falls. We'll have to maybe monitor that team a little bit more. Like we said, a future state tournament host too. I forget what year. Maybe that's in a year or two. I don't know. But
I think it's 2028. It's the furthest one they have out scheduled. And so I was talking to them, and they're pumped. They're ready to go. They've been working on some projects down there, and they're also they might be a little bit of a problem in Class C too. So I would keep an eye on the Cannon Falls Bears. They're young, they're scrappy, but they got some experience too on the top end of things. So
that's good. Yeah, good to hear. Good to hear. Did most of the team make it in at Zorba's to have a drink, or were they a little bit too young for that?
No, they have guys old enough. I think they're similar to us, where they probably had about 7-8 guys that made the trip that could get in, and then probably 7-8 that had to find somewhere else to drink water and root beer and stuff like that.
Sodas and pizza for sure. Yep. Oh, that's cool. Sounds like a good trip though. Definitely. You make me want to look for. We used to go over to South Dakota. We used to go over to. I'm just blanking on the name. Where did we go? The Cubs, Brookings. That's right.
Oh yeah.
Brookings was such a blast to get over there for a weekend and just kind of, like you said, you're kind of committed to it. The team sticks together. They go out to eat together. You find other teams and have a great time. And I'm going to have to try to look for another opportunity next year. I know that there's Wisconsin teams always looking for people to come over and meet up. And we're going to have to keep an eye on that for sure.
And one more thing I would not be doing justice is, we did end up beating Hibbing. They got up on us 8-2 though, and they only had 9 guys for their first day, and so it sounded like they had a couple guys missing. We were able to come back and beat them, but they're a very good team. And then we ran into the Bemidji Bucks in the championship, and those guys could swing it pretty good too. So I wouldn't be doing justice to the up north teams if I didn't give a report that they are very solid.
Yeah,
so
there's
very
some really good squads up there and represented well at the Shindig. Obviously, getting some of the Metro teams up there, cool to see. But yeah, just a good weekend. And like I said, it's been end of June there's a lot of things going on. We get through our July 4th now, and we are into that final stretch. Some teams looking at regions already in the next week, which it blows me away. I can't even fathom that. So
we mentioned to you guys before we started recording, but there's tweets out there that are like, oh, here's our playoff bracket, or this is our league playoff bracket. And I'm like, it was just July 4th. Like, that's already starting?
It kind of, blows me away. I mean, we're looking at regions in the North Star League that start July 25th, I believe. So still down the road quite a ways.
Yeah.
Well, there's a couple teams out in your league that have got about 72 makeup games because they calling for rainouts. So are you guys going to push regions back to September?
September sounds good. Yeah.
A fair point, Hayes. Very fair point. This is what basically happened. We've had some rain, some fields were having issues. Guys want to play home games at their ballpark, and it forces some aggressive makeup games. And our league basically decided we were going to extend our regular season by about 3 days. So what usually ends on a Sunday in July, now we're going to have an extra 2 or 3 days to find games and to leave open the opportunity for more rain, because as we sit here and we put the podcast out on a Wednesday, I'm looking out at the forecast, and the rain is just always around. It seems like this is a summer where, there are summers you'll go 5 weeks without seeing a lot of moisture. Mm-hmm. I can't say we've gone more than 5 days without significant.
It's been consistently raining. I will say this though, and this is just a call out to every team: try to get your game in. Do your best to get. I mean, I know it's raining. I know it's there. Some parks are positioned in spots that get wetter than others. Some are in valleys. Some are top of the hill or whatever. So there's differences there. But do your best to try to get that game in, because one, you're going to put yourself behind the 8 ball if you're playing 100 games at the end of July right before the playoffs, and two, sucks to reschedule for an umpire. We're not just thinking about our teams. It's like, well, now this guy's scheduled to ump this game that day, and now there's a makeup game that day, and maybe someone's pulling double duty because, to be frank about it, there's shortage of umpires. So, yeah, I mean, do whatever you can to get the game in. If that means you're playing at the other site or finding a neutral field, like sometimes you got to bite the bullet and do it, because it sucks to play 10 games in 2 weeks or something like that. But
yeah, I mean, this is something that just personally we've ran into with our league, is games are being pushed back, and it's going to be a really difficult July, and it's not really fun for, a lot of teams do home promotions and whatnot. Yeah, of course you might miss out on this or that, but to try to get the game in ultimately is going to be the best option.
Well, if you really bust your butt to get the field ready, no matter how crappy that might be, you still get to do your promotion that day.
Mm-hmm.
So
that's right. Exactly right.
I know, it's not fair to say that, because it's harder for some parks to handle, certain weather, but do your best. It's all you got to try.
Hayes, you're very anti-weather, right?
Yeah, I hate it. No, I mean,
all weather.
All weather.
Well, you have kind of an attitude that you don't even talk or think about the possibility of changing a game time.
If I get a message in the group me from one of the players on the Delano A's, they owe the team a case of beer. And that has been a rule for 10 years now, and nobody has ever had to pay up. So I think it works.
It's a solid rule. That's a good rule.
Yeah. So, no, I mean, I noticed there was a couple Sundays ago, and teams are banging games at 9-10 in the morning, and it's like, well, what's wrong with 4 or 6 or 7 or 7:30 or
a neutral site?
Neutral site finding a field. I mean, I get you don't want to lose a home game, but
right.
At the same time, you have an opportunity to schedule as many non-league home games as you want. So, I mean, I know that doesn't, always make up for it, but, if you want to play 25 home games, you can. You have every opportunity to do that. So, it's, but I remember years ago, we kind of had a similar summer, and Brian Bookie Larson just finally put his fist on and said, you guys just got to start playing baseball, and if it's the field's wet, the field's wet. Get over it.
Right.
And we're kind of getting to that
point. We are to that point. We had a league meeting, we'll say this, Bookie, he was very adamant that there's no more dancing around it. You have to play your games. And even the topic was brought up of, well, hey, Bookie, we have B games. Some of our C teams have B games late in July. Can we bounce those? And boy, the look on Bookie's face was like, are you kidding me? You're talking about deleting league games? and saying they don't matter.
Yeah.
He if he had something sharp in his hand, he would have been stabbing people at the meeting for sure, because that was not the right thing to say to Bookie Larson.
I'll side with Bookie on that. And I know that we've talked about it before. Like, well, for some leagues, what matters for you is your C versus C or B versus B or A versus A or whatever. And in the case of our league, for our postseason positioning, it is that C versus C, B versus B, and then Buffalo. They're not either. But I will side with Bookie though. Like, we have a league schedule. It was set. It's been set for a long time, and he really wants those games played. So yeah, let's go for it. And also, like, if you've got players that still need to get games in for some reason, those are your opportunities to do it. So yeah, I mean, you have a set league schedule. You should go for it. I don't think you should cancel league games, whether they quote matter or not.
Right. It was
Just try to get them in, and you can always going into next year, maybe we change up how we're doing that, whether the C versus C or B versus B, or we do some sort of point system. I know that a lot of leagues do that, and that makes sense too. So
yeah, it's never ending. I mean, you go through experiences like this and you realize, okay, maybe there is a flaw somewhere in the system, and we need to adjust somehow. And if you've got games that matter throughout the year, well, all games matter, but if you've got B and C in all your league games, you're going hard. It's the idea of dropping any of those is a ridiculous thought. So yeah, we're the rain is obviously playing with our heads a little bit. We're talking a little crazy here.
We're getting frustrated.
We're getting frustrated, and actually we're recording here on a Monday night as it's raining outside. So it's just really, it's unbelievable how it just does not stop. We're gonna knock on wood here. Let's just have a really good July. We can have rain on every other. Just find a non-game day for, like, it seems like it's just been finding us left and right.
I think light morning showers.
Yeah, let's
to
keep
kind
it,
of settle the dust, and then leave it at that.
Yeah, let's keep it minimal. Whoever's in charge of the rainfall, let's just be mindful of our town ball season. So let's get through July. Let's get our games played, and like we said, start getting flexible, because if you're not flexible, you're going to run into a dead end pretty soon. And there's only so many dates in July to get these games in. You got to play them. So that's our little topic for the rain. And now we kind of wanted to talk about a few other little bullet points before we wrap up tonight.
I think maybe a good transition here, since we're talking about the home stretch and getting down to it in the end of July. Who's standing out right now?
Who is standing out?
What teams have we seen that are playing well?
Yeah, why don't Ryan, you lead off with us here, maybe more in that B, and if you know anything about A, I mean, obviously you can throw that out there, but if you have anything as far as B goes, are there any sort of teams that are standing out right now, or maybe surprise teams?
In B, in my opinion, it's hard to say anybody's standing out. I mean, you look at do the rankings, and it's kind of the same group that you've kind of expected, and a lot of them were in Class C in the state tournament the last couple of years. So I don't have anybody new in B really per se to talk about, because I mean, if I throw out a name, everybody's like, well, yeah, we've heard about them before. I will look a little bit at Class A, a team to keep an eye out for, because they kind of just keep winning. Now, they did win a state tournament game last year, but they still, to me, fly a little bit under the radar. It'd be the Moorhead Mudcats. Historically, even recent, the Moorhead Brewers have been kind of the team to beat, in one in Moorhead, but two in the Rabble. The Moorhead Mudcats have won a lot of games, and they're beating a lot of pretty darn good teams along the way. They came down here, they gave us a good hind end kicking, and then they followed up and beat Baseball 365 the next day.
Wow.
So they're a young group of college kids, most of them playing at Concordia Moorhead. So they're playing all spring together, and then they keep playing all summer together, and they've been doing that for a couple of years now. So that's kind of the one to really keep an eye on in Class A. And again, you could probably find them in the rankings, but that's going to be one I'm looking at. In Class C, and I don't want to steal your thunder. It's more. I'm looking at, you see what Glencoe and Broughton are doing, and just knowing that they're both state tournament hosts this year.
Right.
I'm always kind of interested in what the teams look like that are going to be hosting, and are they putting all their chips in? Are they able to put all their chips in and really make a run for it? And they're in the same region, so
wasn't that didn't Broughton just give Glencoe their first league loss? Is that
correct? That was last night. Yeah.
That's a huge game with two teams, fighting to get in, and they want to make a run, and that's as good of a ball game as you're going to see.
Yep.
It is cool to see two league teams battling now. That I think in the rankings they found themselves both in the top 10, absolutely to the top 10. I know that Glencoe has maybe gotten more love lately because of the record they had put out, but that is two very good teams coming out of the CRVL. Focusing more on C, just because Jordan and I are a little bit more in tune with that side of things. Everyone's dropping the Cortland Cubs. I mean, they're living up to expectations, is what we're gonna say. They were the preseason one. They, at this point, I mean, they've won a ton of games. They've only lost once, and I
think they have like 15 or 16 wins probably at this point, and one loss.
They've only lost to Hutchinson, a Class B team. So
they hit.
Yeah, they mash. That's what we've heard. They've got a lot of good bats. On top of that, some other teams that have been kind of pushing up the way through the ranks. The Wyndham Pirates. I would say maybe preseason weren't getting much love.
We gave them love.
We talked about the field, a bunch. We love the pirate ship out beyond left field, and
they're trying to sail that ship.
Okay,
right into the state tournament.
Love it.
Couple more teams. There's a few Piers teams. The Lakers and the Brewers are both off to good starts. I think both teams have only lost one or two, maybe 3 games, but they've been doing well. Yeah, like you said, Wyndham, New York Mills is always good.
Yeah, New York Mills is kind of that up north C team that as far as C teams go, that might be the kind of the team setting the bar up there for.
New York Mills has always run into Bluffton,
right?
And now Bluffton is B, so it's really left the gate open for New York Mills to make some noise for sure.
Yeah, they've made the state tournament a handful of times over the past couple of years, and that's still with battling Bluffton in that region. And yeah, I would assume I would say that in terms of teams that you'll no doubt see make it, I would stamp New York Mills as one of those. So a couple other ones, a really random one. I do the rankings on the website as well. I threw out the Morris Eagles. They're a team that had won a bunch of games. I'm not sure the level of, the competition out there is different, but whenever you're winning games you should win, you deserve a little credit, and the Morris Eagles have done that. A team that, once again, probably wasn't on a lot of radars early on. They have definitely earned that right. So yeah, a lot of good fun teams. I want to make a comment on my rankings. I had put those out there, and I had left Waterville off of my top 10, and it was one of those things. I think I put my little list together, and I didn't double check it. I put it out, and that was a really good team that I didn't have in my top 10. I will throw out a post rankings apology to the Waterville Indians. You might see your name on the next one. Keep grinding away. Keep getting W's down there. Another good, solid team in the South there. So
it feels like, and I know I'm jumping back into B a little bit here, but it feels like a lot of the teams that you would expect to do well are doing well. Like Jordan's winning a ton of games. Bird Island's winning a ton of games. Buckman is
Young
doing
America.
Buckman things. Young America, yeah.
I'll say this too, Ryan, for I think a lot of people were talking about, with Max Otto leaving your roster, the pitching might have to take a hit somehow, but I think that the Athletics have found some really good arms to fill the void. I mean, like you said, I think you said it was like 80 innings that Max had pitched last year.
Yeah, for sure. Well, this group looks similar to how we looked back in 2022 before Max did come back, and where I think we have 16 guys who have logged an inning this year so far. It's just we've been playing. Some weeks we've been playing 4 even 5 times a week. So if you've had any pitching experience, you better be throwing bullpens and be ready to go. And when it's your number's called this year.
That's right. Oh, that's cool. We'll keep an eye on our teams as we get into regions. I think our next episode will be basically running right up to the start. But for some of these leagues, they are going to be playing some playoff baseball. We'll try to keep track as best we can. But for a lot of these teams, late July, that's when things really come together. That will lead up to that selection show. And July is just a really fun month for baseball. A lot of teams that, like you could say, like, this is kind of where the cream rises to the top. You're going to see the best teams finish strong and get their bids to state. And there's going to be some teams that fall off the wagon. There's going to be surprises, and we're going to keep track of that as well.
Yep, and I'll go with two teams to watch out for. In Region 7 here, look out for the Norwood Indians. I'm going to call them my Norwood Indians. And I'm going to say look out for my Rockford Crows.
Oh,
That's
boy.
Okay. All right.
Rockford Crows, a 6C team where Jordan and I look at each other and we say, okay, that's our region. So we have to be...
They're coming for you. The flock of crows are coming.
The murder of crows. Isn't that what they're called?
The murder of crows.
That's scary.
Terrifying.
Yeah, they've got Aiden Smith there. They've got a couple... I'll be honest, their team has...
Binnabos.
Yep.
Yeah, they've
got a couple good arms. And
they have evolved from, I'd say, 2 years ago. They obviously started that team up not too long ago, but they were it was pretty rough. It was rough to start. They've definitely found themselves a little bit more. I mean, they have an elite high school system. If they can hold on to anything that comes through those doors, they're going to be solid.
Yeah, so. I think, like any new startup team, they went through some growing pains right away, but they're kind of moving through that pretty quick, which is cool to see. Yeah,
good to see in the league. You always, like Ryan says, you want the health of the league and the parity in the league. That's always a good thing. So, I think there's not really a good way to transition away from that into what I want to talk to next. But have you guys ever watched the show The Biggest Loser?
I'm aware.
You're aware.
I'm aware. Yeah.
Basically, a lot of overweight people trying to lose as much weight as they can. That is not what I want to talk about. The Biggest Loser I want to mention.
The Biggest
is a poor man from Rosen who threw 261 pitches just the other day.
Yeah.
In a loss.
The Biggest Loser. Wow. Mike. If I get the last name wrong here, sorry. Mike Shake, Schake, threw 261 pitches in a 17-inning loss for Rosen to the Ortonville Rocks. We say The Biggest Loser. We're poking a little fun.
Of course.
The valiant effort there.
What an effort from our guy out there. Ryan, do you have anything to say on that?
Yeah, we're gonna go with Shake because that sounds pretty good. We oddly enough, I'd have to look up how many pitches were thrown.
261.
Yep. Okay. So I played in a 20 inning game when I was like 19 years old, and I was a Loretto Lark. And Nick Cook, so the son of Herb, his second oldest, he pitched the whole game. He threw all 20.
Oh,
Um, I can't remember how many pitches he threw, but we lost to Buffalo 4-2, and I played first base. And yeah, Nick threw all 20. Now, granted, Nick, and I love him, and he's like the most hilarious person. He threw about 17 miles an hour, so it wasn't like that. But yeah, he did say he couldn't get out of bed for like 2 days.
Oh
well,
man.
I'm diving into the numbers here.
You can-
Shake threw 175 strikes, so like a lot of strikes there.
Attacking the zone.
About 100 balls, but a lot of strikes.
Yep.
I'm trying to figure out 261 divided by 17, so about 15 pitches an
That's a
inning.
good pace.
Is that pretty? That's pretty efficient. Like
Yeah.
We'd
12 to
be
15 is-
asking. We would be asking a lot of a guy who went out there for 17 innings to say, "Well, you got to be a little bit more efficient."
That's 90 pitches after 6. I mean, that's a heck of an outing. I feel bad if I push like 140 with a guy, and I mean that is a number that you've got to trust in your guy. If he's walking into the dugout and saying, "Oh, I feel really good. My arm is fine."
Well, at what point was he just like, "Well, I've gone this far, whatever.
I'm
We'll just
numb."
yeah. Well, the good news is I can't feel my arm anymore, so I could keep throwing. Or maybe he switched to the opposite arm. We don't know.
Yeah, that's the
They
thing.
just
He could
give
be
us the total.
You'd say he's amphibious, right?
Correct. He faced oh man, he faced 68 batters in the game.
Oh, well, think about the offensive number. What do you if you're playing in that game, you're talking about like an 0 for like 7. If say you maybe didn't get a hit that day, 0 for 7, 0 for 8.
I'm looking here, and I won't name any names, but there was some offers. And,
oh no!
If you're one of those guys, are you thinking like, God, 17 innings, I can't flip one out there?
if it was going to be an off day, that was a bad day to be off. But
well, credit to Mike Shake and credit to the Ortonville Rocks for getting the win, because they also had to come back to win this one. They were down 3 in the 9th.
Unbelievable.
And then forced extras, and then 2 hours later they were still playing.
So we've talked about a couple like iconic pitching performances this year. Our boy down in New Ulm with the 26 strikeouts or 27.
26,
whatever it was. Impressive.
Whatever the record is now.
Whatever the record is now down there in New Ulm, striking out our Bird Island Bullfrogs, and then the performance out of Rosen. Respect. The respect is earned. That is an iconic stat line, and I'm sure no one will forget that one. So very cool to see.
I think
the things you see in town ball, they never cease to amaze you. I mean, I'm aware that has happened before, but it blows my mind. It blows my mind every time. It's just, I could never see it happening. I mean, there are teams in certain situations and guys with arms that can do certain things. It's impressive. So, like you said, Hayes, you've experienced something similar.
The best part of that whole thing was, at the time, Brandon Scanlon was the starting center fielder and played center field for Loretto, and he's in North Star League Hall of Fame. And I had the opportunity to coach his son Jack this year on our varsity team in Delano, and I just remember coming back later, because it was a Wednesday night game too.
Of course.
And I remember coming back either Friday or Sunday, whenever our next game was, and him explaining to us that his wife lit him up pretty good because she thought he just went to the bar after the game. This is 2007, 8. So cell phones, not a lot of texting going on, and people really didn't have their phone. I mean, you left your phone in the car, you left it in your ball bag, and you didn't really sit and check it. And yeah, she got a little fired up at him, and She didn't believe him, I think, until the next day when, somebody had to inform her that, they played 20 innings in Loretto the other night.
Town ball.
You'll never believe it. We went 20 innings last night. Yeah, whatever. All right.
Town ball, bringing families together and bringing them to the brink of destruction.
Sleeping on the couch. Good one.
That is great. Oh, man. Really good stuff. Once again, congrats on the the 17 innings. Even though you didn't get the W, that the respect has been earned for Mr. Shake out there. We had the Hall of Fame class on the docket. I'm wondering, do we want to go over that, or do we want to save that maybe for next episode?
We can save the biggest winners part for the next episode.
The biggest winners.
The biggest winner. There's other winners though. We could touch on LeSueur because it sounds like they're a big winner too.
Well, yeah, we can just kind of glaze over that real quick. They just announced that they had met their funding goals and exceeded them, and they're doing a bunch of cool things at their park, LeSueur Braves. Kind of that. Well, if you're an OG listener, Jordan Flick in one of our first episodes picked that field as a spot he'd want to play at. It's very unique. It has almost like I don't know if it's like a warehouse or some sort of building, but that rides the entire perimeter of their first base side, and very, very unique situation there. And I haven't dug too deep. Jordan, you have something there?
Yeah. So they raised the funds they were trying to raise, and they're doing a complete resurface of the field. New backstop, new netting. They have additional funds that they're going to use to tear down. They have a big press box that it's seen better days, and they're looking to upgrade. So they're taking that down, going with something new. They're also revamping bullpens, new batting cages, dugouts. So they're like, it's the works. They're doing it all. But a field that is kind of iconic and cool, and people want to play there, and now there's even more reason to go. So
yeah, you've got a lot of parks like that around Minnesota that like the bones are there for like just the coolest thing. I think Ryan, you saw one of those at Detroit Lakes. Like they have every bit of the foundation to be like the coolest field. And now that they're getting injected with funds, it's really going to show what they can do with it. And I'm excited to see that with some of these parks that maybe are considered, that you might have considered, they're lagging a little bit behind. Well, you watch, there are going to be some changes coming up real quick for some of these parks, and they're really going to turn around quickly. I'm excited to see how that goes, and LeSueur and all the way across the state, we're seeing that, and it's always exciting. So good on LeSueur, good on the community, and all the fundraising that's going on there. But Ryan, once again, you're going to kind of be you're going to be the caboose here. You've got something to talk about. You had mentioned, once again, in our pre-production meeting, we're very professional here. You wanted to talk about just like press boxes?
Oh, it's just been in my craw because, and I think, we rile up the Twitter masses, but I think they're going to side with me. And I was doing a couple of games up in the press box during this Legion 4th of July tournament, and the people that think that they need to just come into the press box and like correct things it's happened to me a few little times, and it's just obnoxious. And actually, and I shouldn't say it's obnoxious. I don't mind if they correct. I mean, I go get pronunciations, but even then, you might slip it up, and I would prefer if you just kind of pop your head and be like, hey, it's Flick, not Felique or something like that.
Oh,
like,
that'd be so much cooler, though.
It would be way cooler. It's anyway, like, instead of just yelling like, it's this, and it's from where you're sitting, it's like, just chill. But so we go up, had a couple of games down there, and the scoreboard is lagging for me for some reason. I got to make a phone call to Daktronics. For some reason, the scoreboard was lagging, so I'd put ball one. And then 5 seconds later, it would finally flash I had to have our tournament director just go down and like mention to the umpire, like, we don't know what's going on. It's like there's a lag, so just he's not drunk or asleep up there. It's this weird little lag. But what was happening though is like when get 6 or 7 things happening in one play, or a ball after a ball's put in play, you think you click something, or did you click something? So anyway, I'm announcing, and I'm by the door, and there's a couple high school age guys in the press box, a couple guys from the town team, which is totally fine, but they know when the microphone comes up to the mouth, they kind of take it back. They quit talking to me. They let me do my thing. Some guy like pops his head in and is like hollering, yelling, and as I'm announcing a batter. And I'm going to say, this word yelling, this new, I don't want to say yell. It was just kind of a little loud for my liking and very close to my ear. I'll tell another story on top of that. Another pet peeve. It's just a pet peeve episode. We had last year. We had 2 high school teams playing a game at the Muni. It was like a neutral site game. They did a strikeout cancer thing. We're like, yeah, you can play at our field. We got lights and all that. Of course, what do these guys want to do? They like to throw in front of the dugouts, and that's not going to fly with me. And I just remember like, hey guys, if you're going to throw, can you just throw in the outfield? And they're like, yeah, sounds good. Then a couple minutes later, 2 other guys are throwing in front of the dugout, and one of their teammates goes, hey, can't throw in front of the dugout. We already got yelled at for that. So I don't want to use that word yelling. I didn't get yelled at, but it was like as I'm announcing, guys hollering in. So as I'm done, I just turn and look at the guy and go, don't come in here and start yapping in my ear as I have the microphone to my mouth and I'm announcing a batter. And you'd have thought I was just the meanest.
The grump up in the press box.
He was just, whatever. Okay, you just have a good night, buddy. And then I'm like, what did I do?
He buddied you?
I don't even know. I was like buddy or chief or pal or
guy. Yeah.
Guy.
Well, now there's a more you've gained a respect for our gentlemen that go up in that press box every day and weather that battle.
Absolutely. Yeah, I have, and it always seems to occur when it's non-town team, like when it's people coming to your ballpark that maybe don't have public address or announcers, or ball games or high school games. Sometimes they don't have an announcer, they don't have lights, they don't have a scoreboard, and then it's like they have this opportunity and they just think, hey, let's just go run up there and like it's. Like, no, I'm up here working.
You almost want to say to these people like, hey, be happy that someone's doing this at all.
Right.
I can
understand if you put like zero effort into like pronunciation. Yeah. You'll hear some jeers from the crowd occasionally. You'll get a guy turn around and be like, ha, what the hell was that? Like, of course that name was wrong. No, you're putting effort in. You just treat it like there's a velvet rope around the thing, and just like say there are people up there doing their job. It's a privilege to have a volunteer up there doing that. It's not a right. You take what you get. I think that was one thing I learned early on is if you want to criticize anybody in a position that's working these town ball games, then you should be volunteering for those same positions.
Yeah.
You should be the first one, standing in line when they say, yeah, we need volunteers. You should be the first guy, because if you can criticize them, you can do just as good a job.
Yeah. If you have nonstop complaints about a PA announcer, do it then. You go do it. Or like, my hot dog wasn't great at the concessions. Hey, buddy, get on the grill. You can do it too and help out.
Yeah.
I think the interesting part and kind of the funny part looking back at it is that both teams that were playing, it was their 5th game of this tournament. One lineup didn't have any first names.
Oh my gosh.
Yeah.
And the other one, and this was this team's 2nd game of the day, they wore the same exact uniforms. He had like 4 guys with the wrong number. So I'm like, wait a second. You got number 71 up to bat, but it says number 2 Jordan Flick. Is this Jordan Flick or?
Ridiculous.
And I'm just like, oh my god.
You're working with the hand you were dealt, and you've got some guy John in your ear. Yeah,
I'm glad, Ryan, we could be your venting session for this because it's been good to kind of, you got to let some steam off. Obviously, you've been working your butt off in Delano and getting all those games played, and now you're staring down a busy July. But yeah, glad we could vent there. And I think there's all great points you've brought up. You've got press box etiquette. So if that isn't something you've thought about before, now is the time. You kind of understand. You've got hardworking individuals up there doing the best they can. Yeah, there's room if, like you said, if they get lazy up there, if the scoreboard is legitimately an issue, maybe the guy is having a beer up there.
Yeah, well,
It
nothing
is
wrong
what
with
it is.
that. Sometimes it helps your announcer. I don't know.
Loosen up there a little bit. Yeah, so Ryan,
That's all I got.
That's all you got for today. Great. I like the pet peeve segment, and I think maybe that's something we can expand on in the future. I'm sure the Mount Rushmore of pet peeves.
Oh,
Yep.
Yeah.
We can absolutely do that. There are plenty of them. I'll say that. I've definitely ran across a few things that I just don't love seeing at the ballpark, and that could be hours of content there. So we'll leave it at that for today with the press box. And do we have anything else do we want to cover anything else before we wrap it up tonight?
I would say if you've got something you want to discuss out there in the Twitterverse, get in our DMs, let us know, and we'll try to cover it.
Yeah, we're very flexible with that. We'll say again, Ryan 3-0 in All-Star games. 2-0. He is him. 2-0 in games that he had a little bit more of a fingerprint on. This year, maybe an asterisk next to it. But the CRVL, a good game. 15-1, they took it to us. And
this might be our last podcast.
Yeah,
we might break up.
It's like the Beatles. We're probably gonna look for some solo work here soon. You might hear the Jordan Flick podcast here coming out.
It's gonna be terrible. It's gonna be terrible.
What did you say, Hayes?
I'm not welcome in Meeker County. That's why I had to call in tonight.
Well, just say if you come out west, you just know it's a little bit wilder out here now. It's the cops are looking the other way when Hayes comes to town. We'll just say that. No, it was a good time. I'm excited for the years to come with that. And like we said, we always push for other leagues to kind of get creative with that and show off their talent. And that was a good time. So we are into July. We are getting close to regions and one step closer to the state tournament. So good amount of baseball to be played, and the next 3 months are going to be 2 months actually.
Yeah,
Holy smokes,
fly by.
it's going to really fly by. It's going to be fun to participate in, to be a spectator in. If you're, like I said, if you've got games near you, you've got a region coming up that's within driving distance, go out and watch some baseball, because now's
the time.
The new reclassification, you're going to see some matchups that you haven't seen in a long time. It's going to be a really fun time. Go watch baseball. Go support the region hosts, and we'll leave it at that. Everyone have a safe week. We will probably be back in about 2 weeks. Like we said, right up close to the end of the regular season, knocking on the door of the regions. We'll be back with more of a team review and where people stand. We'll talk a little bit more about our Hall of Fame inductees. There's some good ones out there. There always is. And that's where we will leave you for tonight.